Good morning. I assume most of you know me. I'm Deacon Juan here. So I'm a member of the Cathedral Scholar Committee that helps give out the scholarships, as well as do a lot of other things for the scholars. So before we get started, let's pray for these folks. The Lord be with you. Holy and gracious Father, we thank you for the generosity of our cathedral to help all these young folks and older folks who are going to college or tech school. But we also pray for all children going back to school this next week. Bless them all, be with them, keep them safe throughout the school year, and that they may have a wonderful school year and lots of learning. Be with them, Holy Father, this day and always. In your most glorious name we pray. Amen. So we're going to have several speakers this morning. We'll have Rick Tyler, who's our committee chairman, and Nancy Beane, who is one of our premier committee members. And then we're going to have a former student, a former recipient of the Cathedral Scholarship, but is now graduated and is a member of the committee. So Nicole Baños. And we should have her sister here a little bit later. She's still making her way in, but she is a present recipient and studying nursing at Kennesaw State University. So we want to give you some perspectives. Each of them will speak for a little while, and then we will have some questions and answers. And hopefully this will tell you a little bit more about this wonderful, wonderful program that we have here and how we approach it all. Rick?
Good morning. I thought I would start out this morning by telling you a little bit of how we're organized as a committee and what we're trying to accomplish. And probably the best way to begin is to actually read what we have on the website in terms of what our mission is. So let me read that to you, and then I'll explain a little bit what we're doing to accomplish that. The statement is that the Cathedral Scholars program aims to provide financial, vocational, communal, and spiritual support to members of the Cathedral of St. Philip's community who seek to further their education goals. Let me speak first to the educational goals. It is our desire to not just help people who are looking to achieve an advanced degree after high school. We're also open to people who are maybe looking for professional certifications, who are needing to get some kind of an associate's degree, maybe in business, or if somebody wanted to become a plumber and needed to have some schooling and have some certification and they needed some help. We're open to that. We have not had that happen yet, but I kind of want to publicize, we think of education in a broad sense of how do we help people achieve everything they can through education. So let me talk to how we're doing that and the specific aims. First, the financial need. That's what most people hear about, the scholarships. We started in 2000 was our first, wait a minute, let me rephrase that. It was 2020 was our first year. I'm going back, getting old. 2020, we had one student. The next year, we had 3 students. This year, we have 21 students. So thanks to the work of the committee and the generosity of members of the church, we've been able to substantially grow the number of students we are helping. Let me also add that all of the scholarships are needs-based. We try to find out what the gap is between what the school is providing and their family and other scholarships, and we try to address that gap. I think Nancy's going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. But we also look at character. We look at their involvement in other things at school. So when we have a number of students applying, we can't always grant everyone a scholarship. I think that will increase as time goes on, and it will become increasingly competitive, but it's always, always needs-based. Now, I kind of think of the committee as having been in stage one. Our first stage has been really focused on the scholarships, working out all the kinks and how do we review the applications, how do we find out the nature of the need, how do we balance the budget, all the procedures. It's a lot of work, and we've really focused on that. We've done a little bit at the other aims, but I think we're moving into phase 2 now, where we're trying to address some of those other aims that I read to you. And this year, we totally reorganized the committee, where we divided up responsibilities. We brought some new people onto the committee who have specific roles. And I want to talk about that a little bit so that you're aware of what we're doing. The first is the social committee. That actually is in charge of our annual barbecue in the summer. But the committee is also looking to have other opportunities to get students together so that we can begin building a community among them. Now, who is better capable of leading the social committee than former students? So right now we have 3 scholars who went through the program, have completed it, and now they are the social committee. Nicole Baños is one of those people. So they took on a big job of trying to build a sense of community. This past, I guess it was last week, we had our annual barbecue. We had about 50 people show up, including parents who were invited. And the energy in the room was really high. And nothing excited me more than looking around the room and seeing clusters of 3 or 4 students standing together, chatting with one another. So we're beginning to build that community. And I kind of dream of what it will be like 10 or 15 years from now when we have that gathering and we have maybe 20 or 30 former students coming back to join us because they can be part of that social gathering throughout the year, and they can be part of the support community for our current students. So that's what we're doing in terms of social. We've also added someone to the committee. Lee Loughran has come on the committee, and her responsibility is education. What we're looking at is doing things that are needed by these students, but not necessarily provided by their schools. How to write a resume, interview skills, how do you dress for success? Lee has taken on a big responsibility here, and a week or 2 ago, she sent out a letter to all of the seniors. We have 9 seniors this year, so we're gonna have a big crop of people graduating. But she sent a letter to all of them volunteering her time and expertise to meet with all of them individually to review their resumes and see how she can help them as they seek to make that transition. We think that's an important part of what we're doing. The next is our advisor program. That's something we got launched this year as well. What we're doing is for any student who would desire to have an advisor, we're trying to match them up with someone in the church who's already working in their field. Basically, we set up an initial meeting, they get acquainted, and then they begin setting up what they're gonna work on while they're in school and as they transition from school. Brand new program, we just started this summer. Really excited about it because one of the things we're trying to do here is not make this a program where people make donations and we give scholarships, but we're wanting to make it a program where the people in the church participate in this ministry. And where they also get to experience what we experience all the time, the joy of helping these students. Right now, we're currently having all students, when they reapply, that one of the requirements for the reapplication is to write a letter to all the donors talking about their last year. What happened in the year, what did it mean to them, how did they change, what were the challenges, whatever they want to share. And we gather all those together and we publish them and contact the donors. We would actually like to expand that so that more people hear their stories. You'll hear a little bit about it today. But we want people to feel that this is a reflection on this community. It was interesting, last Sunday, I had a parent at the barbecue come up to me and say, "You guys do an incredible job of making everybody feel welcome." And I said, "Well, it's interesting you say that, because we spend a lot of time in this church talking about the ministry of hospitality. And so we're wanting to kind of open it up so everybody can be involved in that." Another new position we've added is the Director of Student Wellbeing. Alvin Blunt is going to head that. And as he said last Sunday, life happens. It's not as simple as you get some money and you go to school and everything's good, but things happen while you're there. A student may be struggling with a course and they really need a tutor. We want to be there to help with that. Maybe there's a crisis at home and they need help with a ticket to get back home. Some of the needs they have are very basic. The last 2 years, we've had a situation with a student who moved up north, did not have clothes that were quite suitable for the harsh winter, so we helped him get a winter coat. Back in May, we had a student with an abscessed tooth and needed help getting a root canal. We also had a student last year who was short the money he needed to register for his second semester. I talked with this student and discovered that the parents were in no position to help at all. Through part-time work at school and his summer job and the help the school gave him and the help we gave them, he had managed to make it midway through the junior year. But because there was a balance owed, they weren't letting him register. So we got in touch with David Rocchio and we worked it out and brought that current so that he could register and continue his education. This summer, that particular student is participating in a very prestigious internship. So somebody very, very worthy of our help. So our goal is to, whatever that need is, to be there for them. And part of this has to do with our liaison process. Every student is assigned a liaison on the committee, someone on the committee who is their go-to person. And that liaison's responsibility is to stay in touch with that student throughout the year. Otherwise, we don't know what the needs are. And sometimes it's just a chance to talk, sometimes it's an ear to listen, but sometimes it's a time to intervene, and we want to be there for that. We have 2 priests on the committee. Juan is one, and Julia is the other. So if we need to involve them, which we have had to do from time to time, that's what they're there to help us with. And then the final thing that we've added this year is a director of communications and publicity. And Angelo Jones is heading that. He's already put together a multi-slide presentation that he gave to us of how he plans to do that. That's part of us wanting to spread the word more, let more people hear their stories, let more people feel that they're a part of it, and let it reflect that hospitality and caring that we seek to model in this church. With this, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy, and I believe you're going to talk a little bit about the students and the educational crisis.
Well, good morning. The way I got involved in this, I had taught school for 46 years, and the last 28 of those years, I was one of the college counselors at the Westminster School. And so I was retiring in 2020, and I had a student, and catch this, her family income was only $16,000 a year. And she definitely wanted to go to college. So we worked, and she got into a fine school, and she got all the money she needed except $5,000. And so I said to my husband, one way or the other, she's going to that school, and if we have to pay it, we'll pay it. Well, along came Cathedral Scholars. And so I got involved that way. We did support her through that. And so that was my start with this. So As we've talked about through the years that I did college counseling, the cost of counseling, the cost of college went up, up, up. So being the history teacher that I am, I decided to do a little research on this. I knew that our own daughter, Catherine, had gone to a private college, and her cost for that school was about $35,000 a year, which I thought was a lot of money. Well, since that time, prices have gone up significantly. So I looked back, and in 1981-82, the cost for tuition, fees, room, and board at most public schools, if you were in state, was $11,840, and for private schools was $24,920. So that was wonderful. Now the cost is approximately $11,610 only for tuition at a public university or college. And for a private, $43,350. And again, that is just the tuition. So there's been an annual inflation rate of about 8% for tuition at various schools. So what have been the factors that have caused that? Well, one, there's been a decrease in state funding in most states. They do not fund that much anymore. There's been an increased demand for students being able to go to college. However, the numbers are going to begin coming down. And because there won't be quite as many students and they still have the programs to run, it's going to continue to cost more and more. Expansion of student services and administrative costs. So there seems to be, and I definitely would echo this, a significant increase in student mental health issues. So they've tried in many schools to have more people as counselors for the students. And then other services too. I don't know if any of you visited colleges that much recently, but a lot of them have built these dorms that are nothing like the dorm I lived in. We didn't have air conditioning. I had a hall bath. It was all great. Now it seems that many of the schools have suites and air conditioning and all sorts of other amenities that we didn't have. Rising faculty salaries and benefits, although I can tell you from my knowledge of friends who are professors, they are not getting paid exorbitant amounts of money. And then, as I said, the inflation rate has been about 8% per year. There's some estimates that have said that the cost has gone up so significantly that it's been as much as 170% through the years. So we as a committee are doing all we can to help supplement. Our maximum amount generally, and there is some wiggle room on this, is about $5,000 for students. It doesn't fulfill their whole needs sometimes, but we would like for them to get out of college without having a tremendous amount of loan debt. I used to tell my students, maybe $20,000 to $25,000 for all 4 years. That's buying a car. You can buy a car. You can make those payments on the car. But for heaven's sakes, not taking out. I had one student who it looked as though in order to go to the college she wanted to, was going to give her $120,000 in debt, and she was planning on going to med school. And I was so upset about this that when she was a senior in college, I called her dad and I said, please tell me she didn't have $120,000 in debt. And he said, no, it's just $60,000. But then she was going to med school, so I have no idea where her finances are now. Hopefully she's a doctor making good enough money that she's been able to pay that back. But I have known students who have had as much as $150,000, $200,000 in debt. So we definitely do not want students to have that kind of debt. In terms of the impact, this is what I was meaning a minute ago when I talked about how much it's gone up. The student debt now is about $1.6 million to $1.78 million. This is overall for the whole country. Delayed milestones. A lot of young people are delaying buying homes if they can ultimately buy a home. Getting married, having children. It's harder for lower and middle class families to be able to afford education at all. And then also a negative impact on the mental health, because a lot of young people are wondering, what in the world am I going to do? So these are some of the figures that we are looking at in terms of trying to make sure that we help these young people follow their dreams. And then I have 3 students who are I'm the liaison for 3 students. One is at the University of Virginia, and she will be a rising 4th year or senior, they call it 4th year there. And so I get to see her fairly often because I'm chair of a board called Theological Horizons up there. And so we usually go out to lunch. But this coming Wednesday, I'm taking her, and then and she's at Virginia, another young woman is at Howard University, and another young woman's at Notre Dame. And we are all going to lunch on Wednesday so that we can enjoy each other and I can find out a little bit more of their experiences. One of the young ladies has had a little bit more trouble adjusting, I think, and than the others have. So it's good for us to know that kind of thing, and Rick pointed out to you some of the issues that we end up hearing about so that we can hopefully meet some of their other needs as well. So I can tell you I have absolutely loved every minute of this work. It allows me to continue to do some of what I did in my career. So I'm going to turn the program over now to, as Rick said, our first graduate, Nicole Baños, who is in charge of the social aspects of what we're doing. And I'll just tell you, she's probably going to tell you this, I don't want to steal her thunder, but last year we did go to a Braves game as a group, and we had a grand time. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Nancy. My name is Nicole Baños. I've been a member of the Cathedral for as long as I can remember. I think I was like 6 years old the first time I came. And I'm a cradle Episcopalian, so this is all I've known my whole life. And to keep it brief, my experience in college and schooling was great, but obviously it had its challenges. I kept up with my school as much as possible, and I had a very heavy science and math course load. I studied food science and technology at UGA, so it was pretty hard, but I did my best. I had the Hope Scholarship and the Pell Grant, and that helped cover a significant amount of my tuition and housing, but like most, I still had that gap. So I worked part-time in the dining halls as a desk assistant in the dorms, and I also did research to help pay for books or just anything extra that I needed or wanted, because I didn't want that to be part of my parents' financial burdens. In 2020, like Rick said, I was offered the scholarship, and at that time I was doing part-time research with one of my professors. But on top of that, I had to pay rent. I had to work and do my own meals. I was kind of like trying to juggle a bunch of different things. So the Cathedral Scholarship came at the perfect time. It was a financial burden that was lifted off my shoulders. And it was a blessing because it was one less thing that my parents had to worry about. It was one less thing that I had to worry about. And it was just great. The next year, unfortunately, though, I fell victim to losing my job because of the pandemic. So in 2021, my senior year, I couldn't work. There was very little work at the university. And I had to focus on graduating. I had to focus on finding a job to get to after I graduated. And I had to pay rent, and I had to do all these things. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? But I was offered the scholarship again. And I was just like, oh my God, thank you, because I struggled with mental health. I was missing my family. I wanted to make everybody proud, and I had to juggle everything else. And so having that scholarship in my back pocket was it was amazing. Sorry. I'm so sorry, I lost my place in my phone. But yeah, just overall, it was just something that I was grateful to have. And I've been fortunate enough to be on the scholarship committee since I graduated 4 years ago. And I've done my best to give back to the community that gave me and my family so much. Without this church, I wouldn't have had all the hope that I currently have and had to hold on to back when I really needed it. I happily serve as a social member where we make sure that we're building community, that we help the students know that we're here for them for more than just the financial aspects of their college career, and that they are engaging with us. I have met some amazing students, and last week we did have our barbecue, and I remember saying to one of the parents that the students hold such a special place in my heart, and she was like, "Oh, I can tell." And that made me feel really good because it shows that I'm doing what I came here to do. And I'm just hopeful that serving on the committee now helps students achieve what they want, whether it's getting a degree, having a technical degree, or just achieving whatever goal they have. I hope that by serving and giving back now, I'm able to do that. So thank you for allowing me to share my brief journey. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Oh my God. Sorry, I have to introduce the next person. So I'm going to introduce my sister, Edith Baños. She's currently a student at KSU, and she's going to talk to you all now about her experience as a scholar.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Edith Baños, as my sister said. Like Nicole, I have been a member here at the Cathedral for as long as I can remember, probably before I could even walk. And I am so grateful to have met so many wonderful people. Like Nicole said, I am a second-year student at Kennesaw State University. I am studying integrated health sciences with a concentration in nursing. That is a mouthful. But to sum it all up, I am hopefully, fingers crossed, going to be a nursing major within this next year or 2 years. And a lot of people have been a big part of my journey thus far. But the scholarship program here at the Cathedral has probably been the boat that keeps me afloat, if you say. And I say that because when you hear the word scholarship, you think of just financial help. And while that may be true, it's what's on the inside that has been the biggest help to me. I will admit, my first year at college was pretty rough. It took a lot for me to get adjusted to learning in a new environment, something that's a lot more fast-paced that I'm used to than high school. And I felt like a lot of the time, I felt like giving up. And knowing that I had such a wonderful group of people that would not let me and would constantly keep me connected to my faith and to my education is really what kept me pushing forward and what helped me get to this second year. Like I said, the scholarship is constantly encouraging us to step out of our comfort zone and explore the world that was made for us, because who doesn't love a good adventure? And now I could stand up here and speak hundreds and hundreds of millions of wonderful things about the people on this committee, but I will say that without the numerous prayers and reminders to never lose my faith given to me by the members of this committee, I would not be where I am today. And to that, I owe them forever millions of thanks and big hugs, warm hugs. And I hope that throughout the rest of my years here at Kennesaw State University, that they will be there and I will have them and their support. Thank you so much.
It's kind of hard to follow them up, right? So Edith still is acolytes in the Spanish service, which you probably don't see, but she's also been a mentor for the confirmation program here at the Cathedral for the overall program. And both the Baños girls have been very active in the Cathedral for as long as I've been here. And they've always been assisting in services or other activities. So sometimes you don't see their faces because they are in the Spanish service. But I know you've seen Edith because she was a senior preacher last year. You may remember her from that. You didn't get to do that, did you? No, sorry about that. Anyhow, enough of that. I just want to tell you I'm very proud of this program and what it's accomplished. And it's interesting, you remember talking about a seed that starts something. And this was a seed started by one person that said, look, I have some money I want to donate for a scholarship to start that and then continue it if possible. And that's part of where this program started, with one seed. And you can see, and I know Rick is so proud and Nancy's so proud, and all the members of our committee are so proud, and Angela in the back there. So we have time for question and answers. We have a few minutes. If you have any questions you'd like answered, or you can direct them to any of the people here.
Let me add one thing that I did not talk about. Georgia is the question.
And if you haven't understood yet, we've got an amazing bunch of people here that do tremendous work, and they give of their time, So it's kind of like today's gospel about the guy that has all the grain, and doesn't know what to do with it. Well, there's some people who have a lot of money that could spare a little bit to put into the scholarship fund. So I'm going to do a plug for that. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question too. You have to be a member of the cathedral to apply.
Rick, you want to field that?
Is it mostly rising college students who mentioned you're open to other people?
You don't have to be a member of the cathedral. In fact, probably I'd say the majority of the students are not members of the cathedral. We do, however, give preference to people who are a member of the cathedral or who have some connection with the cathedral. Like some of our students don't attend here, are not even Episcopalian, but they know someone here in the church who has a connection with them. And the main reason we give preference to them over the rest of the community is that we want to be more than just writing a check. And it's a little harder when we don't have some way of connecting with them in addition to just us. So that's kind of the way we do it. We kind of, every student who applies, we'll mark whether they're a member, have a connection, or they're not a member. I'll add one other thing. In terms of finding these students, we began last year working with another church, St. Michael of All Angels in Stone Mountain. They contacted me that they were wanting to start a scholarship program of their own. Theirs, however, is a one-time $1,000 that they give. And so what we're doing with them is we're partnering with them so that when they identify a student that they want to recognize, we will also recognize them for our scholarship program. So I think as we grow, we will probably be looking to find other parishes in the diocese that can help us find these students. Yes? If you would like to donate, there is a place on the website. If you go to missions, you'll see listed under missions, Cathedral Scholars, and there's a link there that you can donate. I'm sure you could also speak to David Rocchio. He'd be glad to help you. David, by the way, does just an incredible job. We could not do this without David. And he's been very, very supportive. And we kind of work out a budget we can work with, and he takes it from there. So just done an incredible job.
Any other questions?
I was just going to say that there was a part of another question that I think, maybe you didn't hear, that was, do they need to be rising college, undergrads? I think that was.
Oh, okay. I'm not quite sure I understand the question, but one, they don't have to be going to college. They could be going to a professional trade school, for example. We would help with that. We haven't been asked to yet. They don't have to be coming out of high school. They could already be in college. We have a student that we just added who's actually entering the senior year. We've also had students who are in graduate programs. We have one student who's in law school right now. Early on, we started in in 2020. I think in 2021, we had someone who was pursuing a PhD. So it can be at any level. There were a couple of questions. You want to ask your question?
Which one of you would be the appropriate type person if someone is
I guess as chair of the committee, I would be that person. So we just expanded this year, adding some, because of those added positions, and but I would be the person to talk to. Yes, and I think there was a question. I did not know that. Were you? Yeah, I don't think everybody, could you say that again? Because I don't think people could hear
There
you.
were 8 women who were concerned about the fact that things were not, we had a lot of money in essence for education in Georgia at that time. And so 8 women who were legislators decided that we needed to do something to help people, and we had the money to help people to go to college. And therefore, they passed the bill for the Hope Scholarship. 8 women who did not have to take money from lobbyists.
That is awesome. There are probably a few 100,000 students who are very grateful.
Yeah, and I just happened to be involved with the group, and they went down there to help the education level of Georgia for all people. Their children were going to Westminster and Riverwood and a lot of other things, and we needed a lot of things propped up in a lot of little bitty schools because they didn't have access to some of the courses that I'd taken in my Florida schools and things. I went to a Christian college. But anyway, that's enough of that. I just thought you might like to know.
That's great. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Don't forget our 2 students, or former students. Do you have any questions of them?
I am currently a food safety consultant for EY. I started out my career. I'm currently a food safety consultant for EY, and before that, I just started in February, but before that, I was a food safety quality assurance supervisor and then a HACCP coordinator at a ground beef packing plant. So, was working with food.
Yeah, one other thing, it's another story. I had a young man at Westminster who really wanted to go to Georgia Tech. I mean, no question, period. That's where he wanted to go. He was our #1 tennis player, and he was also incredibly bright. And his family did not own a laundry where they worked, his parents. They worked in the laundry, and they just did not have money. So he got Zell Miller, which now, even if you have a 3.0 average, it is full tuition, but back at several years, Zell Miller was full tuition, and the others were, I've forgotten, 80 to 90%. It didn't start out that way, but it evolved that way. And so this young man would have had to pay $10,000 to $12,000 for housing, and they just did not have that money. So this is why I think there needs to be more need-based aid in Georgia. He ended up going to MIT for $3,500 a year, but the $10,000 to $12,000 was just prohibitive. He could not do it here. So he lives now in San Francisco. And while the Hope Scholarship has been wonderful in keeping the best and brightest in Georgia, and that was one of the real goals of the scholarship, we do need to be able to keep people like this young man who lives in San Francisco now, and I don't think he's ever coming back to Georgia. So anyway, that's a bit of a problem. Zell Miller was the legislature, and correct me if I'm wrong, ultimately voted because Zell Miller was obviously governor of Georgia and really was excited about the Hope Scholarship and instrumental in it, I think. But anyway, that was full tuition when they did not have full tuition for people who had a 3.0 average. You had to have a 3.7, and you had to have a certain SAT or ACT score to get Zell Miller. So now that it's come back to full tuition for anyone with a 3.0 and the scores don't make any difference, that has been very helpful.
Yep. It was 2.0.
It was 2.0, not 3 when it started. No? Okay, well. Oh, well, I thought at that time it was 2 when I was working with it. That's many, many years ago. And actually, Zell didn't have a lot to do with it, actually. No. These 8 women did not have to take money from lobbyists or that kind of thing. Their hearts and souls, like yours, got this to happen so that they didn't put the money anymore into preschool and the other things that they had already allocated. So 8 women started.
Well, and
I was part of there like you.
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I know at Georgia State, there's a foundation that was started, and they also were trying to help students who would be $200 short and ready to quit school. And then you were sort of obligated to do some things to support other people who were doing that. So, yeah, but thank you for clarifying that, because I didn't know that.
Sorry. One last question, and then we have to stop. Our time's about up.
Yes, it is for pre-K and for college scholarships.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop our session for now, just because our time is up. I thank you all for being here, and I hope you've learned a little bit more about our Cathedral Scholar program. Maybe you might want to even be more involved in it. There's many ways you can do that. So thank you all for being here. God bless you, and